pasta and meatballs are what I make when I want to shimmer into Italian mama mode. It's time consuming, but I don't apologise for that here simply because there's no point in making fresh pasta or meatballs unless you really want to enjoy the process and sort of throw yourself into the activity. And actually, making fresh pasta is not hard at all. I think too often in cooking especially, people fail to make the distinction between time consuming and difficult. This isn't difficult at all, it just takes a while. It's fiddly. Right, I've got 400 grams of double O flour here. You can get double O flour, which is very finely milled, makes incredibly elastic dough. At supermarkets now, that's easy. And all you need to remember with fresh pasta is that for each 100 grams of flour, you have one egg, and the one egg, as you call it, of pasta, makes enough for two people quite generously. Bit of salt. I'm going to get my eggs. Now, I prefer making this just the way they do in Italy, normally. Just pile the flour on a board and then just crack the eggs onto it. Makes a mess, but that's fine. But this is sort of hands-on and fun, and that's the whole point of this. This is my fourth egg. And then just mix these together. And knead until you've got a ball of dough. And you'll see the change here. At the moment it's just a mess. The kneading of pasta dough is the same as bread dough. In other words, you're pushing out with the heel of your hand and bringing it back either with your fingers or again with the heel of your hand. And what it is that you're bringing your body heat to work on the gluten and the flour. So it's rather wonderful. It's sort of cooking that's a real collaboration between you and the food. Now, it's more or less ready. You can see it's quite smooth and I can form it into a ball very easily. It's so soft, like a baby's bottom. You can just cover it in cling film, but somehow it doesn't fit my mood today, so I'm going to... When I make fresh pasta, I'm more in a kind of tea towel mood. 30 minutes will do it. You just have to rest a bit before you start turning it into pasta strips. But if you wanted to, you could leave it in the fridge for a couple of hours. I mean, properly covered, 3 days would be fine. Rainy day cookery is to some extent store-cupboard cookery, and I know everyone nowadays quite justifiably makes a big deal out of fresh herbs, but dried herbs, can be incredibly useful, and some of them are wonderful. Parsley and basil, not so great, but dried mint is wonderful. It doesn't have the sprightliness of fresh mint, but it does really have a wonderful smoky redolence. Thyme, I suppose because it's quite oily, really works well when it's dried and you get the full hit of the herb. And oregano I use a lot when it's dried, and it's really, well, I suppose when the weather's like this you need a bit of summer in your food. Right, the meatballs again, this is easy work. Takes some time, but that's no problem. I've got here 250 grams of minced pork, same weight of minced beef. You can alter the meats to suit you. Often I do just beef, sometimes I might put a bit of veal in. You're just using this as a blueprint. To this I always add some grated parmesan. I suppose if I'm going to measure it, which I'm not, I'd say it's about 2 tablespoons, but it's just enough to give a sort of savoury depth. Now, an egg. This helps bind the mixture. And the same is true really as semolina, which helps give a bit of bulk. In fact, bread is normal, but I didn't have any bread for breadcrumbs one day, so I added some semolina. And I now find I love that sort of wheaten sweetness such a lot. I always use this. 3 spoonfuls. Oregano. Whatever herb you add, is up to you. Most normally I do fresh parsley, and I suppose I wanted to change it. Salt. Quite a bit. You want the seasoning to be sort of full on. And pepper. Garlic. If you want to add onion as well, do. And it's really just a question of mixing all this together and then forming them into little balls. Now, you do need to be a bit patient to make them small enough, because actually it's much nicer when you have meatballs with pasta to have them really about a teaspoonful. Right, this is the base for the tomato sauce. Onion, garlic, oregano. So get a bit of oil, not extra virgin, just ordinary. And this for me is incredibly important. Some butter. I find cooking tomato sauce and butter, at least some butter, really adds a mellow note and cuts any acidity, and tomatoes can be very acidic. So while that warms, I'm going to scrape this in. This will take, I don't know, 5 minutes. What I want is it to cook down and be soft. I don't want any crispiness or colouring. Some salt. Right, so that's lovely and soft and sort of cooked to a wonderful soused pulp. So tomato passata, that's just sort of liquidised tomatoes really. I always add a bit of water to this, otherwise it just gets too thick and too intense. Bit of sugar. Sweet though tomatoes are, often you need a teeny bit of help. Pepper. Teeny bit of salt, not too much because I did add the salt earlier, and anyway, you can always taste later. And then, if I can find a lid, just going to partially cover the pan, just to let it sort of cook for about 10 minutes, and then I can get back and add the milk. Put it in there and maybe we'll turn the handle. There we are. Okay, Mimi, you start. That's good. Now, well done. More, faster. That's lovely.
That's my turn.
That's good. Right, we're on the home run. Just add some milk. I learnt this trick of putting milk in sauces in Bologna, and it makes a real difference. It makes it look rather like cream of tomato soup, but nothing wrong in that. Right, now the meatballs. It's quite important not to stir these and break them up as you're adding them. Just drop them gently into the sauce. Right, so the meatballs are in. I'm going to put the lid on again partially, so the meatballs will cook, the sauce will thicken, and in 20 minutes, we're ready. There you are, there's some parmesan if you want. That's yours, sweetheart. Okay. There you are.